Hello everybody, today I'm going to be filming for you my April wrap-up of all the books that I read in the month of April. I read 7, which is the same amount I read in the month of March. I'm hoping this month, the month of May, that I could get to read a little bit more. As usual, I will leave all links for the books that I'm showing you down in the description bar below. And yeah, I think that's everything. Let's get started. So the first book that I read in the month was Anderby, Wold by Winifred Holtby. This is my very first Winifred Holtby. Her most famous work, of course, being South Riding, which I'm really looking forward to. I, however, wanted to start from the beginning, so I've started with her first work, which is this one. This was published in the 1920s and tells the story of Mary, who's just inherited her family's estate up in Yorkshire, and she is kind of learning to take on the ropes and things of the farms, and the way that she's kind of going about it, she's not making friends, put it that way. A lot of the farmers and the workers don't like the way that she's doing a lot of things, and it's causing a bit of a rift within the community. I liked this book. Okay, don't get me wrong, I did like this book. When I first started reading it, I thought, oh, this is going to be 5 out of 5 stars. I love it. Then it got a bit boring. And I got a little bit disappointed. It's still good and it's still worth the read just to see her progression through her writing. But I'm not sure if I'll be picking this up again. So, worth the read. I liked it, just wasn't great. 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I picked up Auntie Mame by Patrick Dennis. This book was from the 1950s, I believe. Yes, 1955. I started reading this and I thought, oh, this is great. This is about this really eccentric, hilarious aunt looking after her orphan nephew. I loved it at the beginning. I thought it was brilliant. Until about halfway, probably. And then he kind of grew up. I didn't want him to grow up. I got a bit disappointed after that. It was a bit like Anderby Wold, actually. Like, I thought it was 5 out of 5 stars, and then suddenly I just hit a wall. And I don't know, my mood changed towards it. Again, it's worth the read, but... And I'm going to read the next one. I am going to read the next one, which is Around the World with Auntie Mame. But it just disappointed me because I wanted him to stay as the little boy. But it's still good. The beginning is 5 out of 5 stars. But in the end, I gave it 3 because I got a bit bored. So, you know. Next up, I picked up a graphic novel. And I picked up the graphic novel version of Peril at End House by Agatha Christie. These are quite recent adaptations. They've been done in the last few years or so, and I think they are just brilliant. I own quite a few of these big graphic novels, and if you'd like to see my collection, then just let me know in the comments section down below and I'll certainly do a video about that. Let me show you them inside. So they all contain about 50 or so pages. You know, there's nothing that much to them. They are quite big though in size. They've got this kind of comic book sort of format, and they're all in colour, but then when Poirot or another investigator is kind of looking back in time, they kind of go in this kind of sepia, I think it's called, kind of colour. They're brilliant. They are absolutely just delightful, and it's just a couple of hours read. Whoops. They're just a couple of hours read and it's just brilliant. I love the adaptations. They're just so much fun and I highly recommend them. They're a little bit expensive. I think they're about a tenner, £10 for each one, but I love them. I think they're worth it. So yep, I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I fancied picking up a full-length Agatha Christie novel, so I picked up The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which was one of the very first Poirot books, and is the book that kind of really set Agatha Christie apart from other crime authors in her day. If you read the novel all the way to the end, then you work out why. It's basically about a man called Roger Ackroyd who just knows too much. That's all it is. He just knows too much information, so you have to get bopped off. I liked it, but it wasn't amazing. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it is really good. It just, for me, it wasn't amazing like some of her others have been, but it's definitely worth the read. And I picked up Molly Keane. This is the second Molly Keane book that I've read and one of her earlier works. I picked up Full House. Please, if anyone from Virago is watching, I doubt it, but if anyone from Virago is, or if anyone has any influence there, please get them to bring out the rest of her books in her nice editions. I had to get this one from a charity shop, which, you know, it's all good supporting charity shops, but my covers don't match, and I hate that. This book tells the story of Lady Olivia Bird, who's an eccentric woman. She's extremely vain, she's quite arrogant, she's quite pompous. Even her children aren't the biggest fan of her. And one of her children, John, who's just come back from, I think they described it as a mental institution in the book. And it's a bit of a kind of a hush-hush kind of thing surrounding him, and everyone's kind of on eggshells a bit, and it was a bit weird. I liked the book, but it was a bit strange. So if you're a fan of Molly Keane and want to read some more, read this. It's just a bit odd. And I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The 6th book that I read was Black Coffee by Agatha Christie, but this has actually been novelised by Charles Osborne later on. This was originally a play by Agatha Christie, and then it's just been turned into a novel format. You can kind of tell when reading though that it is meant to be a play, and you can tell that it's not Agatha Christie, which is slightly disappointing. I was hoping that it was going to be better than the Sophie Hannah version. It was, because it is still Agatha Christie's plot and characters and everything, but you could still tell that it wasn't Agatha Christie who's actually writing it. I was a bit disappointed. I think I would much prefer the play version. I'm really excited to read that, because this has such an interesting plot. It's about Sir Claude Amory, who is kind of left with quite a bitter taste in his mouth after drinking some coffee, and then he ends up dead. Basically, who killed him? Dun dun dun. And then Poirot's there to investigate. As I said, I want to read the play because I think the play will be much better. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, but I think I will give the actual edition by Agatha Christie herself a much higher rating. And finally, the last book that I read in the month of April is something that's a little bit different for me. It's a chick lit, and it is The Love Shack by Jane Costello. I have read every single one of Jane Costello's work, and when her new one was released, I just had to pick it up. I read a lot of classics and a lot of non-fiction, and sometimes I find that it does get a little bit heavy, so something like this just kind of quite relieves me. This book tells the story of Dan and Gemma, who are in their late 20s and they rent a flat, but they fell in love with a house in which they want to buy, and they decide that in order to get the money for the deposit for the house and actually afford it, then they need to move in with Dan's mom. And when they move in, cracks start to form in their relationship and it's crumbling away. And that's all I'm going to say for now. If you are a fan of Jane Costello's work, then you might be slightly disappointed with this. It's still kind of addictive, but it gets addictive about halfway. You have to read kind of halfway in this book to be fully addicted into it. Unlike her other work, which you read like 2 pages and you just have to read the rest. I read this in about 3 sittings. I usually read them in 1. But it is still good. It's still worth the read. I enjoyed it. It's a nice kind of guilty pleasure read, but if you want some of Jane Costello's work, which I find absolutely amazing, then check out All Single Ladies, The Wish List, or Bridesmaids. But yay, 3 out of 5 stars. So that's it. That's all the books that I read in the month of April. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have anything to discuss, let me know in the comments section down below, because I love talking to you guys. And I shall see you soon for my next video. Take care. Bye for now.